Hey, welcome, JB. Great to see you today.
Yeah, what's up, man? Great to connect with you as well, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being my first guest ever on Coffee with Ryan.
My pleasure.
So, I'll be honest, just for people watching, this is my first Coffee with Ryan podcast, which I guess is the live streaming podcast. And I didn't know how that countdown thing was going to go, and it seemed really cool. So I'm
Dude,
all
we
about
had
that.
music. I mean, I the hype music for me, Dr. Brian, was I'm ready for my day.
Right? Yeah, I was like, man, I was kinda nervous the music got going,
Did
so
you custom select your hype music?
no, dude, I don't know how to do any of that.
All right, all right, all right.
But, no, it's kinda neat. The program we're using, had it right there, but you can actually add your own video clips, so maybe I'll figure out how to do that someday. But anyways, for those that are, watching or will watch, I'm Ryan Crittenden. I'm with XL Coaching and Development. You can see my website there. If you're listening, it's xlcoaching.net. Please feel free to connect with me anytime. And also, I'm with JB from uh, where are you? Like Baltinock
Yeah,
Neck?
so look really close.
Okay,
Bolton Co.
Bolton
Yeah.
Co. That okay? That
Yeah.
makes sense.
So
That was
the JB Ryan comes from Jonathan Bolton. And so my company is Bolton Co. And I also grabbed a .net. Did you grab a .net because the .com was already taken?
I grabbed the .net because the .com was $5,000.
Ah, yes.
Yeah,
That
and the
makes sense.
.net was like,
It's a prudent business choice.
yeah, and awesome. Yeah, hey, we all already got. I don't know if you can see it on your end, but there is like a live comment where people can jump in and comment. So if you have questions for me or JB, um, and I want to say like I totally see Bolton Co. now. Now that I'm awake a little bit more.
It's there. It shows up for you.
I could totally see it now. But yeah, so if you guys have a comment or question for JB or I as we're having coffee, just jump it in, post it in there. I'll catch it. But JB, as I'm excited to have coffee with you. I'm glad to actually see you have coffee. What are you drinking this morning?
So I got two. I knew this question was coming. Okay. So I've
Yeah.
got two options. I've got the standard, which is the drip coffee. This is kind of the long term play, right? Got it teed up in the Yeti if we end up going the hour, it's going to last the hour for me. And then since I knew this was special, in this one I have latte, the caramel latte. So I've got a kind of a
Right
combination.
on.
I've got the frou drink, and then I've got like the diesel fuel, both ready to go.
Nice.
How about you, buddy?
I am drinking some Colorado Coffee Merchants.
Ooh, are you like coffee nerd? Did you do a pour over this morning?
No, I'm not. I like to think I'm that kind of nerd, but I have never tried that.
Never tried it. So are you just kind of standard drip machine rolling or?
Yeah, we got twin babies, and so we prep it at night.
Oh, you get the
And then
fully automatic?
yeah,
Does it grind the beans too, or do you have to do
um,
that part?
we got to
Yeah.
go.
Got it. Got it.
But we wake up and it's ready to go.
Sweet.
So yeah, I'm excited to have JB here with me. He is the executive architect. He has a lot of experience in business and in leadership. So, JB, what does being an executive architect mean?
Yeah, kind of an interesting one, huh? That's why I did it that way. So people are like, "What the heck is that? What the heck is that?" I'll tell you what it's not. It's not common coaching. It was kind of funny when I was thinking about getting into executive coaching. Um, I was a little embarrassed, and I'm like, "Why am I embarrassed to be an executive coach?" And I think the reason unfortunately, is that there are a lot of coaches that kind of do the name dirty, right? I mean, it's a little bit like, if you're in real estate, God bless you, but we all know somebody that's been in real estate or says they're going to be a realtor, and they get a transaction under their belt, and then they're not in real estate anymore. I think our buddy Alan was mentioned to me several weeks ago, and I don't know what the source is on this, but like average coach income was like $10,000 a year, which means that people are hobbyists with it, right? Or they're doing it on the side. And so I'm like, man, I need some way to say I'm not that. If that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for like big box, like executive coaches who are going to run you through their program, like that is not my jam. Like I custom fit the solutions. And there's this element of kind of listening to the needs of the clients that you're serving, and then designing. So if you think about architects, designing, buildings, let's say, in a simple form. Think about executive architects designing possibility. So it's understanding kind of where we're at. What do we want to have different about our life? And then how do we begin to design around those possibilities to go execute and make those things different. So
Dude, I love that. Now, when we're talking about like executives, are you focusing people in leadership in organizations?
yeah, primarily I've got I have some some individual ICs, individual contributors as well. For me, and I don't know how you feel about this, Ryan, but for me, it's more about the individual and what do they want to be different about their situation and whether or not I can help them. That is the more important match than whether or not your title fits my ideal customer profile, right? So it's more about, hey, what are you trying to be different? Because you have some, and there are all kinds of different scenarios that'll pull up. It just happens that based on my professional experience, leadership and especially go-to-market leaders, and especially in subscription-based businesses, that's just an area that I have a lot of experience, and so that ends up being a group of people that I serve particularly well. So yeah, it's most of my clients are leader. They're all leaders, but most of my clients are in leadership positions, and then some of them are individual contributors as well. So how about
Great.
how about you? Who do you serve?
Yeah, that's a great question. Kind of the same thing, everybody. And um, now, like, kind of who I like to spend some time with are people in organizations. I like to work with leaders, help. I like to help them understand their team better and how to leverage their unique strengths. Lately, I've been working with a lot of folks in transition or
Mm.
in job transition, or people that have just been dissatisfied with um, where they've been.
Dude, there is a ton of that right now, isn't there? There's a
Yeah.
ton, a like I would say probably probably a majority of the conversations that I'm having right now are um, around career and career like changes. What do you is that are you finding something similar out there or
I don't know if I've necessarily seen the uh, big career change, except for in
Mhm.
myself. Um, other than people that are changing just companies, but staying in the same field type, but
Gotcha.
changing companies.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
we're moving.
yeah. If you're watching, what have you? How do you guys feel? What are you guys seeing? Do you have coworkers leaving, bailing, changing complete careers, changing companies? Love to hear what you guys are uh, experiencing. But you were talking a lot about your professional experience. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, totally. Will you want to know? Because that could be a long story, Ryan.
Just a snippet. What's been some highlights? Where were you at? What were you doing like before you became an executive architect, and what led to? you being an executive?
Yeah. So, okay, totally. So I spent, the last decade in tech for a company that does asynchronous video communication called BombBomb. So I got to join that team, when they had 9 employees and, our you know, first bit of revenue. I think that company had already landed it was really close to its first 500 customers. And these are, it was small, average contract value, a little bit more like a B2C looking sort of business at that stage, which is really how that company grew up. So it's kind of from startup and then, I actually was answering the support phones. So they're like, hey, we need a support guy. And I'm like, dude, that would be so much fun. I would love to do that. And I had prior to that, I spent 7.5 years in financial services. So, really cut my teeth. I've always done like leadership stuff out of college, but financial services, you work for a big organization, and if that organization is set up well, you just get a lot of fundamental like leadership training, coaching, development work. You learn how performance management works. You learn how to motivate people, how to motivate a team, and so that was a tremendous experience for me. But at the organization that I was at, I started looking at, when you work for a large company, like your path, your career development path is all it's pretty mapped. Like it's pretty mapped out. They're like, okay, first you're going to do this and this and this, and here's your career path, and here are your job levels, and here are your skills that you need to develop to get there. And so what happened, honestly, was 13 years ago today, my daughter was born.
Oh, snap. Happy birthday to your daughter.
Yeah, she's a teenager, bro. She's a teenager. It's crazy. Want to know the best part? My background is deceiving because it looks all sunny, but in reality here in Monument, Colorado, where we're broadcasting from, where I'm broadcasting from, the snow is blowing sideways right now. Like I have this neat, I wish I had my second cam set up to show you my studio shot, but I have this there's a drift of snow against the window. It's very picturesque. So the best part is that yesterday, Lily, my daughter, she's like, dude, I want a snow day for my birthday. And like, sure enough, at 3 p.m., the district called it. She got a snow day for her birthday, which is awesome. So, but 13 years ago, my daughter was born, and I think for us, in significant life events, especially births and deaths, beginnings and endings, are really reflective times for us to look inward and think about kind of prioritization and what it is we're doing, how we're spending our time. And so, my daughter was born, and I started to look at this career path at this big company, and I started to look at the people that were in the seats that I thought I was aspiring to, and I'm like, do I want that? And which seems so commonsensical, but it's like, look, like, do you really want that? Like, do these people look happy? And is that because if I'm gonna commit the next decade of my life here, this is likely what that is gonna look like. And for me, I'm like, oh no, I gotta get out of here. I gotta like make a move. So my wife and I, long story short, bought a RV and traveled the country for a year when Lily was 6 months old, and I sold aerial photography door to door. So that's a podcast in and of itself.
I was like, we're going to have you back in a few months.
That is a
and we're going to
podcast
talk
in
about
and of
selling
itself.
aerial photography.
Aerial photography. But anyway, when I was coming back, culture was really, really important to me. Finding the right company, the right team, the right mission, the right core values. Those were key. Those were more important to me than the title and the money. Because the thing is, when you if you RV around the country, like you learn how to live on less. You have to, right? Because you can't take all of your crap with you. Even though we had this enormous RV, still, you gotta I think with all of our slides out, it was like 400 square feet or something. We had a bulldog with us, and it's like, you just don't have room for everything. So you learn how to live on less. When you learn how to live on less, it opens up like this tremendous freedom. Tremendous freedom. And I'm like, okay, well, what do I want to do? And it ended up being, finding this company, this little tech company. I never worked in tech before, but I worked in, operational leadership and sales leadership. And so I'm like, I can answer your support phone like nobody's business. I'm like, that'd be super fun. So I did it, set up like the first dashboard, set up the customer satisfaction, started reporting on that, started reporting on customer feedback, started tracking ticket volumes, like just really like stuff that you'd be like, well, yeah, any business probably is going to need this set up. I should set it up. And like 3 months in, they're like, will you be our vice president of client services? I'm like, yes, I will. Which, at a 9-person company, you're like, whoop-de-doo. Like it doesn't really, it may not feel like a big deal to you, but from there, became the vice president of customer success, and then the senior vice president of operations, and then the chief customer officer, and then the chief revenue officer. And during that time, we grew that subscription-based business to over 25 million in annual recurring revenue. And Ryan, the cool thing we did was we did most of that bootstrapped. There was a little bit of debt financing, but it wasn't like we took big VC money. So we were running a profitable, growing business for the better part of a decade. It was a tremendous experience. Just learned a ton, met a bunch of cool people, really, really rewarding. So, and I got to work in a cool space where really the cornerstone of what we were doing was reminding human beings that they mattered, that they had unique intrinsic value. And that's why showing up on video in person is something that's replicable. I mean, it's you can't spam personalized video. If I record you a video and send it from me to you, you can't spam that. Like it's authentic. I made something for you. It's like sitting down and handwriting the thank you card. I made something for you. And that was a cool, man. It was a really cool ride. So that's what I was doing before I got into this stuff.
Yeah. So what was the biggest thing that you learned while working for BombBomb?
Oh, dude.
I know that was like in 10 years. How do you sum it up? What's the biggest thing you learned? You shared a number of things, but
man. Gosh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go with the first thing that comes to my mind, which is nothing great is built alone. Nothing great is built or experienced alone. It's just not. We are uniquely talented and gifted human beings, and we need and flourish and benefit from the other unique and talented human beings around us to create meaningful experience, to build meaningful context, to get perspective, to get wisdom, to learn, to grow, to be humbled, to respect, to connect. And I think, for me, it was awesome. Like we had an executive leadership team that I am still really, really great friends with and will be probably for the rest of my life, just because these human beings are all so uniquely wired and talented and gifted. And then I had the privilege of serving, hundreds of amazing professionals coming through that space, learning about them, figuring out what makes them tick, what motivates them, what are they good at, and getting them into the right seats. And I think, that was probably the most meaningful, learning for me. I mean, you know it, like, in your head, but as you experience life, you actually get to experience it, and it takes on a deeper and deeper meaning for you as you're surrounded by, interesting people that kind of journey life with you. So that's one I'd offer.
I love it. What do you think that secret sauce was that you guys had that brought you together?
Um, I think core values matter a lot. I mean, there's so many things that go into building a great team, right? I think core values, I think mission and purpose and vision, like that is probably the foundation of it. Um, when you've got something that you believe in and you hire a team that believes in that thing and is using their diverse talents, experience, background, and perspective to move that forward, whew, man, there is so much more energy in that kind of environment than there is if you just go find a job and you are punching the clock and it is not life-giving kind of work for you. So, that's I think that's what we all strive for. It's now don't get me wrong, it's not always 100% of the time always like that. There are days where any human being on the face of the earth wakes up and says, "Man, if I can just punch the clock today, it'll be a good day." like it's not always like that, but I would say it was very different, I think, in that experience, which is something I was actually talking to a colleague about this over the weekend, who was articulating the same thing, just the importance of that vision, that mission, that belief, that energy that can fuel, I think, great growth and great culture and great success. What do you
Yeah.
think? What's your take?
Man, what was the question again? I was just, like, absorbing all this, like, good stuff you were saying.
Well, you were asking, like, what was the secret sauce, right? Like, what makes a team hum? When you think about the best,
Yeah.
I mean, you've had some really interesting experience, right? I mean, you have. I mean, I don't know any human being that's like, oh yeah, I really don't know anyone like you. That's like, yeah, I'm a doctor and I'm an executive coach and I'm a vet, and I'm a realtor, and like, dude, you have a tremendous background. So I imagine in that there are some teams that were really like cool to be a part of, and some that were like miserable to be a part of. So what
Yeah.
do you think the secret sauce is?
Yeah, it's interesting, that's a great question. Um, I think the teams I've enjoyed the most, is when we did have that common mission. And I know that it's like every management, every leadership guy is like, "Yeah, for sure." Like, you need to have that common mission. But it also just enjoyed being around each other. Not saying that we were like the best friends, like we would, go hang out or anything like that, but where it was, man, like I actually look forward to this meeting
Yeah.
because like these people are really cool.
Yep.
Um, and the times it always got worse, the almost across the board, the times that they got worse is anytime micromanagement started to happen. And, years ago, actually, I was, in a whole 'nother role. I was a youth pastor, but it was very entrepreneurial. I was, able to go into the ground floor, start building things up. Man, ton of fun, a lot of hard work, and, like, 7 months or so into it, like, meeting with the senior pastor, and he literally said, um Ryan, you're doing great, but I'm gonna need to micromanage you now. And I was just like, I just remember thinking like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, you should just fire me for whatever reason, right? Like, I was in Montana. Montana's a without cause state. You could just fire me.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather just be fired than being micromanaged.
Yeah.
Um, Here's a good question. What do you think is the telltale sign that micromanagement is about to take hold in a team?
Ooh.
Ooh, my first thought was when the manager or leader starts leading with fear.
Oh, dude, exactly the same first thought.
Yeah. Um, and I don't know what the deal. I have some theories about the pastor, um, but yeah, when like real estate world, the market starts getting bad, business is looking rough for whatever reason, and it's you got to crack down um, and just like make people do better, and it's like, no, that's the wrong way. What is other thought? What other aspects of fear did you have?
Dude, I think you nailed it. I think fear, right? I mean, it ends up being kind of a fear and control thing. Things start to clamp down, and there's multiple things that could be driving that, right? It could be the leader that is fearful for their job, and so they start to really rein in control. It could be a very caring leader who fears for your job, and so they start to become more directive. Like there is an application of there's never really an application of micromanagement that works, but there is an application of directive leadership that works. And so if you're working with a leader that cares about you and your success, and they're sitting down having meaningful one-on-ones with you, like giving you some direction or some insight, that is tremendously valuable. But it's very different. I mean, I think that's the difference between a positive experience in micromanagement, where you've got somebody that's freaking out and really dialing things in. So it tends to be, in the worst forms, it tends to be that own leader's fear, you know. So it's tough. I mean, it's a really tough one. It's a really tough one, but it's also one that, if you're adept at managing up, as you see it and sense it, you can turn that lens a little bit back toward them with, in a one-on-one with, like, listen, I can tell that this is really important to you. And I can tell that you care tremendously about it, just based on kind of the amount of feedback and involvement that I've got. Come talk. Am I reading that right? Talk to me a little bit more about what's going on, how you're prioritizing this, how you're thinking about this. And man, if you acknowledge the fact that that leader is in a really challenging space, and you're sensing that, like, if you've got a decent relationship with that leader, that's going to open up potential to turn that micromanaging situation around for you, or at least give you some empathy to what's going on, I think, in that space. So,
Yeah, I love it. I love really being to uh, switching the script in your own mind,
yeah.
like assuming that they have the best intentions, um, and trying to dig back into that and like what's important to you. That's really, and that's worth the cup of coffee right there, JB.
Deal.
That's great. So how do you? So you were part of a company really kicking butt and taking names. Now what are you doing?
Yeah. So my collaboration with Bomb Bomb came to an end almost a year ago. So February of last year. And the first thing I did, well, it's like, I'm fortunate I'm surrounded by good counsel, right? I've got some great mentors and leaders and coaches in my life, and good community. And the first thing that I heard from everybody was, "Hey, this has been a wild ride. You need to take some time off before you make a decision about what your next thing was going to be." And Ryan, dude, I am so glad that I did that. Because you don't, when you're hustling, like, I'm sure we've all experienced this. When you are hustling, you do not have the time, the luxury, and the time sometimes to reflect on what's happening, and your life is moving fast. And are you okay with the direction that it's headed? And what are what I learned so much about the kinds of work, like, that I like, and the kinds of work that I don't like, and the kinds of people that I like to work with. And so there was a lot of reflection in there, man. I I can't remember the number now. I probably even told you one of the first times we had a conversation. I think at the time that I had 37 one-on-ones after I left the company, right? These are coffees, lunches, I'm like, dude, I need a break. Like, I just need a break. I need some quiet time. I need to reflect on this. I need to process this. And I started doing immediately, I started doing some consulting work because some partners are like, oh, hey man, could you help us out with this? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I did some did some consulting work, was a fractional executive, a fractional VP for a company. And I, at one point in one of my consulting engagements, I was helping this leader in this company. I had this really meaningful one-on-one with her. And I told my wife that day, I'm like, man, doing this project stuff is fine. I could do it all day long. It's great. It adds value, pays the bills. It's fine. But if I could somehow just work with the individuals, like people always, of course, it makes sense. The company's going to come to you with the problem and the project that we need to go execute to solve the problem. But you and I both know that it's always the people behind those problems that you're trying to solve that are the difference between success and failure and moving the business forward and not. And so focusing in on those humans, I think is critical. And so I told my wife, I'm like, if there was a way I could just do that, I would do that all day, every day, but I don't know what that's called or like how to make money doing it or whatever. And that was the dinner table conversation. We kind of left it there. And so I was thinking about it. And the next day I get this DM on LinkedIn and this professional is like, hey, I got a professional development budget. I don't know if you'd be interested in taking on an executive coaching client, but if you would, could we have a conversation? And I was like, it was one of those moments that was so surreal for me. I just started crying. I'm like, how is this? How on earth is this in my inbox right now? It is inexplainable. The next and that same week I had another like similar experience and I was like, this is what I got to do. I got to do this. What is this called? What is this
Yeah.
called and how do I pursue it? And then what was fun is you get into executive coaching. And I'm like, oh, I've been doing this for 20 years. I mean, this is what I do inside the organization. I'm just serving the people inside of the organization. Now I get to serve people all across organizations. And it's fun because I get to be in service of them first. Right. So they get to tell me what they really think instead of what they think the CRO wants to hear. Right. And that's tough because if you're in leadership, even if you're in leadership at an amazing company, you still worry about the politics, the relationships, the perceptions, and you should. Yeah, you should. I mean, it is something to be thoughtful about. That's why having resources outside of your business are so critical. That's why pursuing mentorship outside of your business can be so valuable because then you can be honest. And when you can be honest, you're really going to grow fast. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to get interesting perspective there. And that's one of the things I love about what we do. So that's kind of my journey into it. So it's new for me in a sense of, hey, I'm running my own business. I am, but it's not in a sense that I've been serving those organizations for quite a while, if that makes sense. So.
All right. So we did get a couple questions for you. So how long was that consulting desert season?
I would call it consulting dessert instead of desert. Just because it was, I should add this context. I was fortunate to be in a place where like I didn't need the work, but I appreciated being connected and being productive. So it did not feel like, because of course, I guess desert can also be minimalist and can be reflective. Like I'm thinking of the sunrise and, in southern Arizona, especially during the spring, when the flowers are, when things are in bloom, it can be really, really reflective. So the consulting work for me, let me think about this. Um, let's call it like 6 months,
Okay.
6 to 9. I'll call it 6 to 9 months. But it was good. I mean, it wasn't like tough. It was, I enjoyed it. Um, I enjoyed it. And it's interesting, like the difference between consulting work and like doing like a project base versus like fractional leadership, where you're really kind of like part-time inserted into the organization and part of their, quarterly planning meetings and that sort of thing. And then the coaching stuff. So yeah, I would call it 6 to 9 months.
All right. Were those coaching relationships, I believe is what it is, were those relationships natural extensions of past work, or were you able to find those people that were excited to work with you?
In the former, the former, all, let me think about this. All of that work was from or through existing relationship. Yeah. Always, always your best opportunities always come through your existing network and your existing relationship. That's why so many of us care about building meaningful network and relationship, because we know that that's where the best opportunities come from. And the stronger the relationship, the better that person knows you, the better the referral or the direct business coming from them is going to be. So it is not so much about, I think sometimes folks feel like, oh my gosh, I've got to go do something different or be something different than I have been doing, or the to make this win. The reality is that probably your next great opportunity is going to come from somebody you already know or somebody you already have a relationship with. And we forget, or we're not sure how to utilize that existing network, I think, to drive that kind of business. So, yeah, for me, all of that came either directly or indirectly through existing relationship. So now I am more proactive about finding people. Now I'm more proactive about finding people. Um, I wouldn't say I've got that all figured out in terms of how to do that. That's something that I'm learning, how to do effectively. So,
So, last question for you. What is the biggest challenge for you right now?
ooh, the biggest challenge right now. I probably probably the favorite. It's really fun for me right now to be trying to figure out how to build my own thing. Like it is so humbling. So humbling. Like most most people do not know or care that I spent time as a C-level executive at some software company. They don't know or they don't care. I'm just JB from Monument,
For
Colorado.
sure.
And so, I got to strut around, my office wearing my hot new shoes that I, custom ordered that only a hint, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Um, and I welcome, right? I say that in just it's just really humbling. In a fun sort of way to be like, oh my gosh, here I am in the second half of my life and my career starting something new. And it's kind of unconventional. Like what I should be doing, that the world would tell you, is going to my next, you know, equity collection revenue collection, opportunity. I mean, there's a lot of software companies that would love to hire somebody that has my experience. I should just be doing that, right? But like my journey just taught me a lot about what I really value and the kind of impact that I want to have. Um, and so here I am making this crazy like move, kind of unconventional move to go do this. So like, when I think about challenges, I'm like, well, I got to have a website. So I built this website. It was so bad. It was so bad. And I was like, man, I just have to have like a minimally viable product to get up. So I build it myself. You do, when you're a solopreneur, as I kind of am today. I mean, I hire other people and other relationships that give me insight and perspective. My friendship with you, Ryan. I mean, our, the network and that sort of thing. But as a solopreneur, you do it all yourself. So like I had a terrible website, and then my friend Erica's like, "Hey, I think you need some help with your brand strategy and design." And I'm like, "You know what? I do." She's actually the one that helped me kind of come to terms with executive architect, which I wasn't even thinking about, but she's listening to me. Literally, I thought we were just having a conversation, but really good brand architects and designers will listen to the way that you're talking, even when you're not officially working on a whiteboard, because part of how they experience you is your brand. So they just
Right.
listen to the way that you talk. And I was really complaining about coaches, especially like some people that are like, just, I mean, I hate to say it, but they just were not successful human beings. And like the next week of non-performance, that like, I'm a coach, and I'm like, oh my gosh, please do not go to this
Stop
human
it.
being to seek insight and guidance. So anyway, she helped me come up with executive architecture. So it was really, now the website is fun. Like, they're always still a work in progress, and that's, I think, the fun thing about building a business. Like, everything's a work in progress. Like, do I like my conversational intelligence software? How am I doing with my marketing efforts and my networking? What am I doing to build my skills as an executive coach to be even more impactful for the people I'm serving? Like, but that doesn't, like, when you're excited about what you're doing, I get up. It's not like anxiety, like, oh my gosh, I got to go do it again. It's like excitement. Like, my word for the year is anticipation. When you get that little tickle in your tummy, like, it matters, and you have to do it, but you're also excited because you know what you're after and what you're trying to build. And you feel called to it, you believe in it, and it gets exciting. So I would say just the challenges of that, but it's not challenge in a sense that it feels like, oh my gosh, guys, I'm super depressed. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do this another day. That is not the season I am in, thank God. But it is challenging. Like, there is a lot of important work to do to make things hum, because I care about connecting with the right people. I want to
Yeah.
connect with the right people. There's somebody out there that right now that needs a JB in their life, because they need some encouragement, or they need some guidance, or they need, some of their beliefs challenged. And they desperately want something to be different in their lives. And I want to find that person and be like, hey, come on, let me show, let's do this. Let me help you out. Let's figure this out together. So that's probably my challenge.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. I love that everybody needs a little bit of JB in their life, and
Well, no, not everybody, not everybody.
or everybody needs a JB. That's what it was.
Let's do it.
And yeah, and I was definitely thinking, I was like, man, that's just totally true. Like, had this crazy idea to do coffee with Ryan, and then we went and had lunch, and he said, I'm in. And I was like, right on. So I guess just as we finish up, thank you for coming on, um, waking up probably the same time, but getting to work maybe a little bit earlier, and hanging out and having coffee with me. A lot of great things to reflect on. So I'm excited to say that. So we're gonna do coffee with Ryan every second and fourth Monday of the month, and we are booked through March.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's been neat. So we're gonna hit up Colorado, Arizona, Texas, Washington, um, hanging out with folks and hearing the different type of stories people have. So if you're watching this live or you're watching a recording, if you want to have coffee with me, you got a story that you think could encourage people, or something you want to just share, whatever, or you want to hang out with me, like that's cool too. Um, Go ahead and email me at ryan@xlcoaching.net. Um, but my next guest on the 22nd is a high production realtor in the state of Arizona, really focused on providing great experiences for his customers and clients. So we're going to learn more about that and how to be awesome. And so, JB, but thank you very much. Please visit boltonco.net, get connected with JB, um, and love just to see where this conversation goes. Thank you again, JB, and have a great one.
Yeah,
And
thanks,
everybody
Ryan.
else, thank you for coming.